Hi, I'm Annie. Welcome back to the studio. Today I want to talk about sewing machines. And since this is a resource episode, I'll be doing some referring to my notes here, so I hope you can forgive me for that, but there's lots to tell you about. And I think this episode will be useful for new sewers and for anybody that wants to buy a new sewing machine, and also for people out there that are looking at all these fabulous new features on sewing machines and wondering, do I need to upgrade? So it will be useful for quite a few of you, I hope. And just as a little aside, I went through this process about 10 or 15 years ago, and I purchased a fabulous top-of-the-line sewing machine and realized that there were so many features that I didn't use that I scaled back to a machine that was more useful to me. And so hopefully I'll spare you the pain of going through anything like that, and hopefully you'll be able to choose a machine that's right for you. So I'd love to help you navigate the world of sewing machines. It's not easy out there. There are so many options that they can be confusing. So I think the best thing to do to start with is to ask yourself, what do I want my sewing machine to do for me? And how often do I want it to do those functions or those features for me? So, for example, you could ask yourself, do I want to quilt? Is that my main use? Do I want to stitch clothing, or do I want to stitch home furnishings? Do I want to occasionally embroider some linen, a tablecloth? Or maybe I want to sew a leather cushion, which may be some heavy duty stitching, but that might not be the biggest feature that I want. So, put them in order on your list, decide what you want your machine to do as the workhorse, and then it will help you when you go into a store to tell the person, this is what I want my machine to do, and they will be able to show you the right machine. So coming up, I'm going to discuss a few of these things and help you navigate this challenge. So I'd like to start off by talking about the basic essentials that I think you need on any sewing machine, regardless of what you're using the sewing machine for. And for those of you experienced sewers, you may want to skip ahead in the video to the more advanced features, but we'll cover the basics here. So I think first of all, you need a good straight stitch, and I'll go through some ways of how to check for a good straight stitch when you go into the store and ask for a demo. But that's essential, a good straight stitch. And next is a zigzag stitch. A zigzag stitch is good for buttonholes. It helps you finish edging on clothing, and if you're getting into free motion embroidery, it's a nice technique to have, also for covering cords and things like that. So I'll give you some examples of those. Another stitch that's really useful now is a stretch stitch, and a lot of machines have it. But not so much the older machines. The stretch stitch is really useful for the knit fabrics, and as there's lots of knit fabrics out there, I think it's one of the essentials for me now. It's also good for if you're making your own bias binding. When you pull it, it doesn't rip because there's a stretchiness in bias binding. So the zigzag and the stretch stitch are the other two. And then the fourth one is to be able to drop the feed dogs. The feed dogs are the things that feed the fabric through underneath the foot when you're stitching. And to drop that gives you control yourself over feeding the fabric through when you're quilting, when you're doing free motion quilting. So that's an essential if you're a quilter, to be able to drop the feed dogs. And the last one is a walking foot. And if you're a quilter, you definitely need a walking foot, because you've got 3 layers of fabric going underneath the foot, and you want them to be kept even and not sliding along one another. But also, if you're not a quilter, sometimes you're sewing 2 or 3 layers together and you don't want them to be pushed out of sync. So a walking foot is essential, I think, as well. So those are the 5 essentials that I think you need for any sewing machine. I'd like to talk about some of the nice to have features in a machine. I've listed some here that are not necessary, but they are nice if you can find them on the machine that you're getting. One is automatic start and stop tie off. So it ties off the seam that you're stitching at the beginning, at the end, so you don't have to do a reverse. Also, along with that comes an automatic thread cutter as well, so you don't have to find your scissors and cut the threads all the time. So those are nice little features to have. Another nice one is speed control. A lot of people are scared when they're doing free motion stitching that the foot's going to go down onto the pedal too hard and they're going to run away on their piece. So if you have a speed control, you know that can't happen. You can put your foot down to the bottom on the pedal and stitch and know that it's not going to go any faster than that. Another thing is a knee lifter. A knee lifter, this is what a knee lifter is. It controls the foot coming up and down on your piece, on your fabric, but it gives you the option of lifting with the knee so that you can keep both hands stitching on your piece, or keep both hands on your piece whilst you're stitching, and you can use the knee to lift the foot off of your piece and readjust your piece. It's a great facility to have. It's not necessary, but it's a good one. Otherwise you have to stop, hand lift the foot off and turn your piece. Automatic bobbin rewind is a great one to have. I'm always getting frustrated if I haven't wound enough bobbins. That's the underneath thread for my stitching project, and then I have to stop in the middle because I've run out and start a new bobbin, wind a new bobbin, and then rethread everything. An automatic bobbin rewinder, it will just do you another bobbin if you run out without even unthreading. So that's a great facility to have. And a larger bobbin capacity as well. That enables you to stitch for longer without running out of thread underneath. So that's another useful feature. There's also a stitch regulator, and that is useful for quilters that are doing free motion stitching. The challenge there is always to keep your stitches even, at an even length. And when you've dropped the feed dogs and are doing free motion stitching, you're the person in control of the length of the stitch. And so you have to evenly feed your fabric through. With a stitch regulator, it senses how fast you're moving your fabric through. And if you suddenly jerk and move it faster, the stitch regulator will know that and regulate the stitch so that they're more even. So that's great for beginning quilters. Another thing is an integrated walking foot. I talked about a walking foot, that it's essential. Pfaff came up with this fabulous integrated walking foot, and they had the patent on it for quite a while, but now I think other companies have got the integrated walking foot, and it's great because you don't have to change the foot when you're doing quilting or layers of fabrics, stitching layers of fabrics together. And so the walking foot is nice and small. It's just a switch that you flip to turn on the walking foot rather than attaching a big bulky walking foot, which it used to be. So I love that feature in the Pfaff. And so just these are all nice to have. They're not essential. Just to let you know, if you don't have these features, it's not going to interfere with any of the projects that you want to stitch. It's not going to hinder you in any way if you don't have these features. They're just nice to have. It would just make it easier for you. So you may be interested to know which machine I use. This is a very personal information that I've not shared before on video, and it's very personal because this machine that I use, it's my art. It empowers me in my artistic process, and it took many years to come to the right machine for me through trial and error, as I alluded to before. So I'd like to share it with you so that you can choose the right machine for you, to empower you in your art or in your creative process, whatever it may be. And here's the machine. It's a Pfaff 7550. It's an older machine. It's not a newer machine. But I find that I don't need too many of the whistles and bells that are there in the latest machines. They may be nice to have, but I don't need them. The thing I love about this machine is the integrated walking foot, as I mentioned before. And I basically have it down all the time, integrated as I stitch, because I'm stitching 2 or more layers of fabric together. So I think it's necessary to have it down. Occasionally, if I stitch 1 layer, then I'll take it off, but mostly it's 2 layers. And the other thing that I really love about this machine is the free motion stitching. When I disengage the feed dogs, it still is a beautiful stitch. It's very even, and it's very forgiving when you're pushing and pulling fabric through. I use the other features occasionally, the buttonhole and the automatic stitches, for my general household furnishing stitchings, or making linen, or doing fashions and things like that. I'll use those occasionally. The other thing that this machine doesn't have is an automatic tie-off or thread cutter. It doesn't have the extra bobbin, bigger bobbins, so I run out sooner than most people. It doesn't have an automatic bobbin winder, but those are things that I can live with. So you don't have to have all those wonderful things, as long as you know it's the machine for you that works for you. Okay, I'd like to talk about buying a new machine first. And as I said, there's lots of things and options to look at, lots of machines. So I think you should, once you've narrowed down what you want your machine to do, go into the store with your list of, and in your mind what you want the machine to do, and try them all out. Try every one, even if it's more than you can afford. Just try them out to see what's available. And definitely go to a specialized sewing machine store. You can look at the resources for this video on how to locate your specialized dealer in your area. Come back, several days later, try another one. Don't be intimidated. These people are there to help you, to make you happy and find the right machine for you. In fact, ask about, is it possible to return a machine if you don't like it? That certainly happened with me several times, and my store was very good. They knew it wasn't right for me. They let me take it back and try another one. Ask about the warranties and classes with the machine when you buy the machine. And most stores will have that. They'll have free classes or a limited number of classes that are free. Let's talk about price. There's a huge range for sewing machines, from a couple of $100s up to even $15,000. Just to preface that the higher end machines, the ones that are $15,000, are specialized machines. You don't have to go there if you don't want. From $700 to $1,500 is really all the price range you need to be in to get a good sewing machine for you. And on the other end, the $200, $300 new machines are basically plastic. They're not very good. They're basically toys. So don't even bother with them. They don't last. So basically, you're in about the $700 to $1,500 range for a new machine that you could find something that would suit you. I'd like to talk to you about buying a used sewing machine, and this is definitely an option that you can go with if you want to be cost conscious and get good value for money. And in that I mean, if you purchase in the mid to high end range of sewing machines, these sewing machines are built to last. So they're very good value. They don't depreciate in value. They're workhorses. Even when you buy them 5, 10, 15 years old, they're still very good sewing machines. So it's a definite option. And so you may want to put out the word that you're looking for a sewing machine. For example, if you go and look in the stores and look at the new machines, and tell the people demoing the machines, I'm looking for this kind of a Bonina model or a Pfaff model, and if you see one come in that's secondhand, could you let me know? You could also talk to your peers, people in classes, in sewing classes. In fact, one thing is, artists are not often willing to share their secrets, but when you ask them about their tools, they love to brag about their tools. So I think that's how I found out a lot about different sewing machines, was asking experienced sewers which machines they used and how they used them and why they liked them. So certainly do that. Again, you could use the internet. You could go online and look at eBay or Craigslist once you've narrowed down what kind of machine it is you want, or even send out an email to people, find out, you know, from your friends if anybody's selling a sewing machine. Also, garage sales and flea markets. In fact, I volunteer for a flea market every year, and every year there's several sewing machines that go up for sale. They're very old and they go for something like $50, but they are workhorses. They're fabulous bargains, so look out for those too. Another thing is, if you want to buy a new sewing machine, you can always ask the specialty stores if they have financing, and a lot of them do. And then that's also a good thing. If you're known to the store, you can upgrade in 5 or 10 years because they know you, and they look out for you know, people wanting used sewing machines that you have. You can trade in. They'll sell a machine for you, and you can upgrade to a new one. So that's another thing you might want to do. And finally, if you're looking at the higher end specialty machines, you may want to buy as a group. So people in the cities, often in co-ops and community colleges, will get together and buy the high-end sewing machines and say the big quilting machines. And as long as you can house it somewhere that's local for everybody, you can all get a go on it and use that machine cooperatively together. So there's lots of different ways that you can look at buying a sewing machine. Thank you so much for sitting through all the details and making it to the end of the video. I hope you found it useful, whether you're a new sewer or an experienced sewer. As you can see, there's lots of choices and lots of options, and I hope I've managed to help you navigate the world of sewing machines. Just as a word of advice, I know a very good artist here in Canada. Her pieces are wonderful. They sell for $50,000 or more, and she stitches everything on a treadle sewing machine from the 1920s, not electric at all. It's all treadle, and her work is wonderful. So just to point out that you don't need all those whistles and bells to create wonderful artwork. You can do it on a simple sewing machine. Just find the one that's right for you. So if you have any questions about this video, please get in touch with me, or if you would like something covered in more detail, I'd love to do that for you in another video. But just get in touch with me via Facebook, Twitter, or my website. Just let me know, and I'd love to answer any questions or any suggestions that you have. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.